All is not quiet on the Western Front. From pipelines to separation, Alberta is in the headlines. I'm David Akin. The West Block starts right now. As Alberta pushes to send more oil out of the province, separation talk is taking center stage. We asked Premier Danielle Smith who's leading the charge. And should Canada join NATO allies in the Joint Expeditionary Force? We speak with a former chief of the Defence Staff. As we wait to find out when Ottawa and Alberta will officially sign an oil pipeline agreement, separation between that province and the rest of the country is grabbing the headlines. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith was in Ottawa for the Canada Strong and Free Network Conference. That's a conservative group which meets annually here in Ottawa. And Premier Danielle Smith joins me now in the studio. Premier, great to have you here. It's been quite a week last week. We had lots of headlines, Alberta making international headlines, and I want to get into it by starting this one. I want to start with the beginning of the week, when 300,000 Albertans put their name on a petition saying they would like Alberta to cease to be a province. Now, as a political journalist, I try to be neutral. I think Conservatives, New Democrats, Liberals can have a good idea on any given day, and on any given day, Conservatives, Liberals, and New Democrats can have a bad idea. But here's my bias. I think separatism is a bad idea. So I am counting on you to be Captain Canada on my behalf and keep Alberta strong and united within a united Canada. Are you ready to be Captain Canada?
That's what I've been trying to do since I got elected. And the thing I think that needs to be understood, especially in Eastern Canada, is that things are not working for Alberta particularly well, and haven't for a long time. That we had 10 years of a hostile federal government attacking our industry, trying to shut us in, continuing to over-equalize the rest of the country, and also make laws that went against our foundational values. And so I think when that looked like it was going to continue with another election of the Liberal government, there's a lot of people who lost hope that Canada could be fixed. So I took it seriously at that point and realized that we needed to have a new memorandum of understanding with the Prime Minister. And to his great credit, Prime Minister Carney has been very open to that. And so I hope that we'll be able to announce that we've come to an agreement very soon, and that will start paving the way to show Albertans that Canada can work. And that's what I think we have to do. We can't just tell them, we have to actually show them.
If and when we do get to that referendum in the fall, can the federal government play a role? That gets us to the Clarity Act perhaps, but it seems to me that Prime Minister Mark Carney is just about the most, if you can say it, popular Liberal Prime Minister in Alberta in my lifetime. Yeah. Can he be an ally, and would you want to be taking the lead on things? How's that going to work?
Well, I was surprised to see that the Liberals are actually now registering at the provincial level in Alberta, and it's been some time before that's been the case. So I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he seems willing to work with us. And I think people want to see us succeed, and they want to see this MOU get to the finish line, and they want to see a pipeline built. I think the role of the federal government, if I could give some advice, would be to say, we hear you, Alberta. We understand some of the frictions that were caused over the last 10 years. And in the spirit of cooperative federalism, we're going to work on resolving those issues. This isn't the only issue. I mean, energy is a pretty big issue that has been a point of frustration for Albertans for a long time. There are other issues that we have to address. It's part of the reason I'm putting a number of immigration questions on the ballot in the fall, because I think that's another area where we want to have more autonomy. And I hope that the federal government will work with us on that as well. I hope they'll work with us on the issue of guns. We have the person who has led that petition campaign is a gun shop owner who isn't appreciating the fact that he's going to be declared a criminal when the laws come into place. And so we have to find a way to accommodate that. Alberta sees the world a little bit differently. And I hope that the Prime Minister does that, because that will go a long way towards showing what cooperative federalism looks like in practice.
And if Albertans don't know the term, maître chez nous, that's what the Quebecers who at one point wanted to be strong or whatever, and that's, I think it sounds like Albertans want the same thing. Masters in their own provincial
house. I truly believe, and I've met with Quebec politicians, and I always think that, oh, well, they're just trying to force Quebec ways of life on Alberta, and Quebecers think they're just trying to force Ottawa ways of life on Quebecers. And so I think Quebecers are just as frustrated with the attitude that has come out of Ottawa in the last 10 years. But there is a noticeable change. I don't know if they feel the same way in their relationship with the Prime Minister, but but I have seen that the Prime Minister has made a genuine effort. You can tell, I mean, the immediate dropping of the carbon tax and the willingness to sign an MOU with us to work towards a pipeline to the West Coast. We've got some accommodations we need to make as well on carbon pricing, but that's how the country works, is that if you've got areas of overlapping jurisdiction, you got to get together and you've got to work it out. And what I'm seeing is a true spirit to do that.
And I want to talk about the MOU in a minute, but just to finish up on the separatism thing, the risk potentially to the conservative movement in Alberta, and I want to start by maybe getting your reaction to something that your predecessor, Jason Kenney, told my colleagues at Global Edmonton last week. Here's what Jason Kenney had to say.
I think the biggest political winner of all of this will be the Liberal Party of Canada, likely to win more seats in Alberta as a result of this, the frustration that most Albertans have towards this. And I think there's a very strong chance it will split the provincial Conservatives down the middle as well. All of that would just lead to a stronger Ottawa. So I think the whole thing is totally counterproductive.
I think ignoring the genuine grievances of Albertans could cause that split. And that's what I've been trying to avoid. When I have 35% of Albertans saying that they've given up on the country, I've got to take that seriously. And I've got to work with the Prime Minister to address that. What I'm seeing from Albertans is they want the country to work. I don't think Albertans have a grievance against their fellow Canadians. Our fellow Canadians have been very supportive of the development of energy, especially in recent polls.
Even Quebecers, if you look at polls, support a new pipeline.
Exactly, and even the majority of British Columbians do too. The frustration is Ottawa, and if we can solve that Ottawa problem, for us, maybe other provinces will be able to solve their Ottawa problem too, but we can get back to a more balanced federation. We have one of the most decentralized federations in the entire world, and I don't think it's been operating the way it was envisioned by the signers of our Constitution. We're just trying to get it back to that. We think it'll be good for us, and we think it'll be good for other provinces as well, and I think that is the way that we heal this divide that we have. That's what I'm working towards.
Okay, so let's get to the MOU. At the end of last week, you talked, I had a meeting with the Prime Minister, and I think the phrase is, could see something in a few days. I know everybody's got their fingers crossed. I want to ask about this. On the pipeline, is it possible that we still don't have a private sector proponent? You want to set the conditions for one. That one of those conditions might be that your government and the federal government would put some money actually into the project to de-risk it perhaps for a private sector proponent. Is that on the table?
Well, I can tell you that we have already indicated how we would de-risk it. We've got something called the Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation, where we underwrite loan guarantees for First Nations to take an equity stake in major projects, including pipelines. And we're prepared to put that on the table. We've asked the federal government to do the same thing. So yes, that would be one of the ways in which it would be de-risked.
Would it be something like the way the federal government bought TMX, or?
No, it's similar to
take an equity interest, in other words, in a pipeline project.
If you look at what we've done before, we've got $750 million projects with Indigenous partners, and we just do a loan guarantee where they get the private financing, and then the dividend stream goes actually to the nation, so that not only can they pay off the debt, but they can also get additional revenues. Those are the kind of mechanisms that we found work incredibly well. Low risk on these kind of high value projects, but also very high revenue for the recipients. And we think that that's a pathway for economic reconciliation. We're having very good conversations with nations in Alberta and British Columbia about that model. We've got nations in Alberta who are already experienced with that model. And the federal government's got a new mechanism because their $10 billion loan guarantee program has only been in place for a shorter period of time. But we think that that's the way that we can de-risk.
And that, again, would help, as they say, de-risk potentially a private
right. I mean, I think the model to look at is LNG Canada, where you've got the recipients of the product who've become the equity partners in owning the development.
Okay.
And so when you look at who has expressed an interest in getting our energy, well, it's pretty well everyone, but certainly a lot of Asian recipients that would be interested in that. So that's what I would imagine. It would be something like that. But we have to get it to a point where there's a reasonable level of confidence it's going to be built, because TC Energy put a lot of money into the Keystone XL pipeline, and the presidential permit got pulled. Northern Gateway, Enbridge, they put a lot of effort into getting all the permits there, and they got reversed and canceled.
I think that's why TC just does gas.
Complete. Well,
That's
and
the
TC
one
Energy
reason.
tried Energy East, and after $1 billion being spent, they couldn't see
Yeah.
a way to the finish line. There has to be some certainty that there's going to be a yes, and that the construction and all the permitting is going to be done within a reasonable period of time. That will attract private sector investment back, and that's what I've always said. This is the purpose of the exercise. We can't have a country where the only major projects get built is if they're nationalized or if the government pays for them. We have to get the private sector to have confidence again.
We did get, in the last couple of weeks, we saw the president did issue a pipeline permit. And I wondered, did you have a hand in that? Did your office in Washington? Can you tell me about, I don't know if you were able to talk to President Trump about that particular project?
My interactions have mostly been with the Secretary Doug Burgum, who is their energy czar. And I can tell you that I have been advocating for more pipeline access to the south from the moment I met him. I always felt like the very best opportunity that we have is to continue to shore up that relationship, as well to make sure that we can back the Americans in their aspiration for energy dominance. It's a perfect partnership. We've had success doing it before. It brings prices down for American consumers, and it also helps the Americans to export also. And if they don't need it, if we can get it to the Gulf Coast, then we can also export to either through the Panama Canal to Asia or onto Europe. So to me, that has been something I've been advocating for some time. I think for Canada, we need to demonstrate that we can work with each other and get infrastructure built within our country. And so I'm grateful for the fact that Enbridge is likely to expand 400,000 barrels per day on their main line. Grateful that South Bow has found a partner with Bridger that might revive the Keystone assets. But I think that I think from a unity point of view, opening new markets point of view, our best route is the one to the West Coast.
So to close and sort of complete the loop, if that pipeline if the federal government says, go, let's build that pipeline, and then we're on the route, does that end the separatist urge in Alberta, do you think? Would that put it to rest?
A lot gets solved when people have a well-paying job. They can take care of a lot of problems. And a lot gets solved when you're generating enough revenue to pay for healthcare, education, services for the vulnerable. So there's no question that's a huge chunk. I think it certainly comes down. But as I mentioned, there's other things like immigration and guns that I hope that what this does is by starting with the hardest part first, I hope that we can find other ways, that we can find some accommodations. We just see things a little bit differently in Alberta. We just want that to be respected. We want to find some accommodation, and we want to demonstrate that that's how the country should work. You don't need to have uniformity across the entire country. We need to be able to work together on the big things. But I think that if we can demonstrate that there's a different way of us to have more decentralized decision making, to have different priorities in different regions, I think that the Prime Minister has a real opportunity to show that, and that will help us in Alberta, might also help him in Quebec as well.
Premier Smith, thank you so much for coming in today.
You bet, thanks.